This exhibit at the Main Street Gallery is a combination exhibit of two open calls. It is Squaring Off and Blackout Poetry. And we combined the two exhibits because we didn't have enough submissions for either exhibit to make a full show. But together they make a really pleasant and I think a really good exhibit. It was an open call to artists working in any medium to create a piece that was 12 by 12 by 12. So it needed to fit within that space. So that's what Squaring Off was. Blackout Poetry is a technique to create poems where you start with an original piece of literature that's published, and then you redact words to end up with a poem. And so it's a really interesting exhibit. They're very disparate concepts, right? We have two sort of harvesting artists. One is Lisa Doyon, who creates just stunning kelp seaweed baskets. And the piece that's in this exhibit has some just gorgeous abalone on it. And Lisa always makes amazing artwork. But I love this basket. It's quite beautiful. And the other sort of harvesting artist is Ricardo Burquez. And he used two conchs and he painted on each of them. And he used the shape of the conch to sort of inform how he would situate the art piece on it. And I thought that was really interesting. So those two sort of harvesting artists. It's fun to have all these open calls in the gallery because it does allow new artists or emerging artists or people who have never done any artwork at all to be part of the gallery and to create something. It's a prompt and they can answer the prompt and then do whatever they come up with. And often new artists sort of break the barriers because they don't know the rules or they don't know, the confines of art, whatever. So Tara used a toy box and created a melting teapot look, which you look down onto, which is really fun. And Markel took a class in embroidery and just sort of loved it. She loved it, and she wanted to create a piece for this exhibit too. So Markel learning a new art form, and Tara just sort of experimenting with different mediums and a way to make things to bring forth a concept. I haven't seen this artist in the gallery before. The artist Jessica Goudian she did two pieces. She did this piece over here, and she did this piece. It's a rock with a wire tree on it, which is just stunning. I think it's beautiful. And like I said, I had not seen her in the gallery before. She also did this piece over here, Reclamation of the Sea, and it looks like it's glass, but it's not. It's acrylic. She's made. It's really cool. So when you come to the gallery and you look at it up close, you'll think that it's glass, but it's also a stunning piece. I just wanted to mention that some of the Blackout Poetry and even some of the pieces of Squaring Off are very personal. They're expressing sometimes really tender and personal experiences, and I think that's a really important thing that the Main Street Gallery allows to happen. We make a safe space where people can express themselves through art, because art is so important. It's such an enormous tool to be able to express yourself and to be able to work through hard emotions and frustrations and learning. And I'm really proud of the gallery for being here for the community to allow that to happen.
I have been creating things, including written material, since I was literally 9 years old. Creative expression is so much a part of my being that regardless of my career as a healthcare administrator, I always had art interests. So I'm a visual artist. I do a lot of sculptural collage. I just decided the idea of making something that was 12 by 12 inches just intrigued me. I was trying to play on the theme of 12 by 12 inches. So I was going to call it The Birth of 12. So The Birth of 12 plus 12, I use a lot of found objects in my art, and I love rusted metals. So I had this piece of corrugated steel, which I think I found in Death Valley, if I think back on where I found it. And it was small enough to use in sculpture, and I just decided that that was going to be my central theme. And then I decided it was going to look like a birth canal. So I also collect doll parts, different doll parts, and so I used that, and I decided that it would be the birth of 12 plus 12, and that's the title of the piece. And the rest of it just grew around that. As I was making this piece, one day I had gone to the city landfill and took some things to the upper level, the non-garbage, just leftover stuff. And I found that little window that came off a child's playhouse. And I picked it up and thought, well, this is really interesting. So I brought it home, dried it out, painted it. And then they look like boots, but they're actually little children's feet are in the window. I made the flowers out of cut tin, and the rest of it is just pieces that have been put together. So it's kind of a theme. 12 plus 12 is 24, and on June 24th of 2022, the court reversed Roe v. Wade, and so it just grew out of this idea about the birth of 12 plus 12. The second two pieces were for Blackout Poetry. The first piece is entitled ELR's Journal. It's for a friend of mine. It was not for sale. It's intensely personal. This person had her husband commit suicide. And so she had given me access to her journals. And as I was thinking about what to use in terms of finding writing that I could black out words and make it say something else, I started thinking about these journals, because my friend has now since passed as well. And I got out her journals and started looking, and I knew the date of her husband's death. It was a long time ago in the 90s. And I just dug into those journals, and I found things that she had written before he had committed suicide and things she had written after he committed suicide. So I combined them into one piece of writing, and then I used the blackout technique to come up with the piece. It's very dark, and it evokes emotion in people. The other piece, I thought, oh, what am I going to do now? And I decided to make a little tiny piece. I had an old sort of antique-y frame, which I spray painted black. And then one of my favorite authors is Isabel Allende. She's Chilean. And I had just read a book a while back entitled The Soul of a Woman. And I pulled out the book and started looking through the pages, and I found something I wanted to portray, and that became the other piece. There are lots of wonderful pieces in this show right now, and I really enjoy everybody's art. So it's nice to see the expression. You never know what's living in someone's head and heart until it comes out in some technique like expression. It's a kind of an art town, and I enjoy that.